teaching over here. Got it. Okay. So again, welcome. Welcome tonight to Deep Spectra Frankincense, Why Young Living is the Essential Oil Leader. A lot of people are already very, very familiar with frankincense itself, whether it's in the resin form or in the form of essential oils. You might even have heard of frankincense that was gifted to baby Jesus by the three wise men. So on the left side of this slide, you see God's gift. Frankincense is something that's derived from nature, and in a moment, we're going to look at how they actually yield the resins and the essential oils. But this gift, I would really like to start by saying this is an amazing God's gift because it is key to anti-inflammation. We hear this term very often, and people talk about inflammation, and inflammation is the basis of almost all diseases. But a lot of us still don't really understand what does inflammation means. In a very simplistic manner, if I was to take my hand right now and I was to whack it really hard, or if you slap someone's face, there's this red burning sensation that comes up, right? That's inflammation. So inflammation is a very normal, regular process, typically in the human body. The human body is designed in such a way that if it's attacked, if it's hit by something, it will push all its resources to the location of that injured site in order to repair and get things in order. So it is a good thing, okay, on a day-to-day basis. However, if inflammation goes on for a prolonged period of time, that's when problem occurs. So how does this long-term inflammation come about? Number one, obviously, if we are subjecting the body to injury, to abuse. What do I mean by abuse? If you're eating food that's not good for your system, if you are getting stressed out, most of the time, these are long-term abuses that puts your body in a constant inflammatory state. And when your body is constantly needing to fight fire because it thinks that you are injured right now, I need to save you every single day, it eventually leads your body to a place of sub-health, which means that it is not a good condition. A lot of diseases, pain starts to set in. So inflammation is the key to understand all the problems that you're having right now, from a physical pain, from an autoimmune disease, to a mood like a depression, anxiety. All this can be traced to inflammation. Just give me one very, very quick moment. I have someone asking for a link. So let's talk about the history of frankincense. I'm going to go through with this very quickly. So frankincense is found in many different cultures. In Egypt, it's traded for more than 5,000 years. It's considered a holy anointing oil in religious ceremonies. In fact, back then, it's valued more than gold. Okay, so it's also recorded in their scientific record as something very precious that they will use for their own health. Frankincense is also recorded in many paintings and walls of the Roman culture. It's for elevated spiritual experiences, and they do burn the frankincense resins or use the substances for skin health. In Israel as well, tons of documentation, pictorial recording also shows how frankincense is used in sacred ceremonies. In Arabic countries, I have also visited this was about 2013. You can walk into a shop, and in fact, there are many shops along the streets just stacked with resins, different grades of resins from the frankincense. And it is common in household from a day-to-day basis to ceremonies that they do at home, that they burn the resins. So if men, you can walk into Arabic country, and most of the men are in an attire where it's like a full dress kind of attire, and they literally, as they cross into the household, they have the burn resins with the smoke go under as a cleansing step, even just before they step into a house. Resin is chewed to actually keep the oral hygiene in tip-top condition as well. In Asia, frankincense was introduced along the Silk Road to China in the Western Han Dynasty, and it's also known as the horsetail spice in the 海药本草, which again is a medical record of what the ancient people used to help themselves. So where are frankincense usually sourced? Okay. When you look at this picture, you're going to see words like Boswellia sacra, Boswellia catiri, Boswellia feriana. These are different types of frankincense. Frankincense, the word frankincense itself is just a common layman term. But if you really wanted to understand what is the variety, you need to look at the botanical name, and it will therefore tell you which specific frankincense you're using. So Oman is where Boswellia sacral, so this top arrow, Boswellia sacral is a sacred frankincense. This is where it is sourced. And then over here, places like Somalia and Africa is where your Qatari, your Feriana is sourced, and even parts of India. We're zooming in to the specific type of frankincense. Again, this is really important because if you walk out to an essential oil store, there are many merchants out there that simply sells you frankincense, but they do not differentiate, or even if you ask the salesperson, there's no understanding that there's different types of frankincense. Now, on the left-hand side, you will notice that there are 4 what we call medicinal grade frankincense. They can be used to help cure certain conditions. So the first one is Boswellia catiri, that's found in Somalia, Ethiopia. Second one, Boswellia sacra, found in Oman and Yemen. This third one no longer is in common cultivation because it was very, very difficult to grow it. Boswellia papyrifera, Ethiopia, Sudan, Eritrea, and Nigeria. And then we have Boswellia serrata. This is found in India. Now, very important to note this category over here, Boswellia feriana, which is also sourced from India. Over here, we put a little logo just for you to start paying attention. We call it the imitation frankincense. Now, is it a frankincense? Yes, it is. But so often, people slide in Boswellia feriana and broadly tell you it is a frankincense when it has very little healing value. When it's put into the lab, you're going to find that feriana has very low active constituents, and typically it's really only good for fragrance. So if you purchase frankincense from shopping malls, from push carts, it's very difficult to understand which breed, which variety of frankincense are we really having. And like I say, most of the time, feriana is slipped in or mixed, and you don't even get a pure frankincense. You're getting a mixture or the non-medicinal frankincense, but it's just branded as frankincense. So that a lot of people get very confused and they think that they are getting a good quality oil when they pay peanuts for it. It is possible. I have bought frankincense online simply as a test, and I've paid less than $10. And the merchant has no clue what type of frankincense it is, but they will tell you it's precious. When, to be honest, the price is already very indicative what you're actually purchasing. Let's take a look at some of the pictures and understand where frankincense come from, because some of us have no clue how it looks like. So these pictures that you're going to be seeing subsequently are taken by me. So I know these are for real because 2013, I had an opportunity to be with Gary Young, the founder of Young Living, and with a small group of veteran essential oilers, we visited Oman. So this is the oldest Boswellia sacra tree in Oman itself. Boswellia sacra is the botanical name for sacred frankincense. This picture shows you the flowers, okay? It's got beautiful budding flowers when it's in the season. And let's take a look at this. There's something known in the culture called the first cut of the frankincense tree. This is a signature cut, and only the local Omani people are allowed to harvest frankincense resin. So you can't have foreigners just go in and cut. It's actually illegal, okay? Rights to the trees are handed down by tribes and sons. So it's family businesses. They must own the right to do this. In this lower picture over here, you're going to see some green sections, some seeping white liquid from the bark of the tree. And this is the knife, actually. So what happens is they will use a knife and they will stab and scrape the tree until white resin actually starts to seep out. So they cut the outer green bark into the red layer. The white resin then, in 10 to 60 seconds, starts coming out. This is what they call the first cut resin. It is not used to distill frankincense essential oil. So after the first cut is actually done, then they cut it a little bit deeper and they will lay mats on the ground to allow that white resin to drip onto the ground. So that's where they are collecting the resin. So after a certain period of time, they will take the resin that they've collected on the mat and bring it back to the distillery for further processing. Now, Young Living literally was the first company allowed into Oman to work with the local government and the local growers to actually harvest frankincense, sacred frankincense specifically. Subsequently, yes, the market opened up a little bit, and there are people who are able to go in there, companies who are able to source, and local companies, Omani companies, that are beginning to produce sacred frankincense. But please know this, not all sacred frankincense is equal. Even within the sacred frankincense range, grading standards differ based on color, purity, age, aroma, shape, and origin. Okay. Like I mentioned earlier, the scraping, the first cut, after a tree is cut and resin starts coming out, what happens is the tree needs to be placed for rest for a period of time. It is very important that a second harvest does not happen immediately. Okay, I'm just gonna check and pause for a moment because I am getting a message that I could be hanging. Am I hanging? Anyone? Okay, seems like I'm good. I'm back. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Okay, so let's continue. So this was from the trip 2013, when Gary and his obviously two very young sons back then, and a group of distributors and essential oilers, we were in Oman, and we're standing right there with the frankincense tree and had an opportunity to learn how it all works. And this is just a picture. It was a very precious trip to be able to witness how we actually operate. These pictures, very precious again to me. I took them when I was with Gary in 2013. This is Young Living's first frankincense distillery in Oman. So when we're on the trip itself, Gary himself demonstrated how the distillation process really happens. Now, for normal distillation of frankincense, basically you collect the resins, you put them through. If you look at the first picture over here, there's a huge container. You put the resins in, you pass steam through, and then eventually the essential oil from the resin itself is taken out by the steam, cooled through this piping. And on the first picture on the left, you're going to see this conical shape glass cylinder. If you kind of peer in a little bit, you're going to see that the liquid in there, there's a yellow foam on top and clear at the bottom. The yellow layer is what we would eventually collect, which is the essential oil. The white liquid at the bottom, it's just simply water, but we call it the floral water. Very much used as a byproduct. It carries certain constituents. People love collecting it because there are still many benefits. But essentially, when the company is producing essential oil, they collect that top layer of yellow liquid, which is the pure essential oil. So in Oman, we partner with Dr. Muhammad Suhail. In this picture that you see over there, from the right-hand side, he's the second gentleman, okay, the big bearded guy. We partner with Dr. Muhammad Suhail to set up the distillery. And we obtain commercial and industry licenses for frankincense oil research and production. Dr. Suhail is a very respected research doctor in Oman, and he also partners with the local Oman different authorities, different groups for consistent quality of Boswellia sacred resin. So over in Oman, we actually develop and establish the Young Living Oman Research Center, so to speak. They call it the Dofa Frankincense Research Product. So here's the thing. Most of you will be familiar that we have the red bottle of frankincense and the slightly darker red version of sacred frankincense. The red bottle is known as Boswellia kateri. The darker red bottle is known as Boswellia sacra. So here's a little extract I pulled out from a medical paper that was published. And I want to read this to you because the question at that point was, is there a difference between Boswellia kateri versus Boswellia sacra? In the eyes of the scientists, botanists, and governments alike, Boswellia kateri, or regular frankincense, is merely synonymous to Boswellia sacra, as listed in many current publications and database. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization reported that Boswellia kateri is simply a variable form of Boswellia sacra and should not be afforded a separate species. So this was actually in a published paper. So for the longest time, while they recognized that sacra came from Oman, kateri came from Somalia, the scientists and the governments felt that there was no difference and said that they are just frankincense. But Gary Young pushed the boundaries. When he looked at frankincense, and he spent more than 10 years visiting Oman every single year doing research and really digging into the history of frankincense itself. He and his team discovered the difference. He would not sit and just accept that two different species from different parts of the world is medically and scientifically at that point in time regarded as the same. So they started testing. So if you look at this particular, this is just a screenshot of the original research paper that was published. Okay, the people involved in here, for some of you, you might see familiar names that you have heard of. Dr. Ko Woolley, Dr. H.K. Lin, and of course, the last name over here, D. Gary Young. So they came together and used the method of gas chromatography and chiral gas chromatography, so different scientific methods, and begin to establish that they are two very different oils. What is the difference? So over here is a chart where they actually took samples of the oils, put it into something called the optical rotation machine. And when the chart came out, it started mapping things very, very differently. And I want to show you the next two slides to explain it. Because of the tests, they began, the scientists, the botanists, and began to actually really start to notice that, oh, as highlighted here, Sacra and Kateri are two separate frankincense species. If you look at these two pair of hands, Sacred frankincense and frankincense are like your left hand and right hand. When you look deeper in, the molecular constituents are very similar. Okay, so these little round balls represent the molecular constituents, what is inside. So if you test, yes, there's carbon, yes, there's R, yes, there's NH2, etc. However, what happens is they are rotated and they are connected together slightly different. Just like a left hand and a right hand. You can say they are hands, but you can't take your left hand and then just implant it onto the right hand side and say, well, they're just hands. I'm going to place my right hand on the right side, on the left side, right? They are not technically interchangeable like this. They have pretty different ways of working with us. So in general, this is not like black and white, like you can't cross over zones. But in general, let's talk about this. Kateri, which is the bright red bottle, okay? A lot of people use it to improve skin tone, texture. Very, very good for reducing appearance of lines and wrinkles. It is loved worldwide for anti-wrinkle effects, promoting good, healthy skin, particularly if you have an injury, you have a scar. Your regular frankincense Kateri is perfect for this. It also is great for moisturizing and nourishing skin. Now, Sacra has a slightly different use. People find that it evokes a lot more deeper emotional connection. So a lot of people tend to use it for meditation, to get into deep contemplative spaces, for planning for the future, spirituality, emotional healing. It works deep into your cellular space. And it is also an oil that is well regarded for longevity and rejuvenating on the cellular level. So if you were to take sacred frankincense orally, you will find that it works deep into rejuvenating. I'm trying to be a little bit more compliant, rejuvenating your cellular deep health. So does it work on skin? Of course. It is great to apply on skin as well. But many people find that frankincense physically on the outside of skin, great. Sacred on the inside of the body gives your body the cellular repair that allows the body, that allows your skin to glow from inside out. But here's the thing. Gary is very inquisitive. So he began to question even more. This is a chart that I took from a recent presentation that we had in Singapore itself. And they were talking about deep spectra. And I really like this particular slide, even though it might look a little bit confusing to you. What does it really show? So this is a typical distillation chart where they show right at the bottom, you're going to see the word small across to big, meaning molecular sizes. They started noticing that both frankincense and sacred frankincense, they are distilled the same way. So you take the resins, you put them into a container, send the steam through, and then the steam will break through the resin and bring out the essential oils. You can't see it super clear. There is the blue line, and then there is the red one. The blue is the sacred frankincense. The red is the frankincense. So they're noticing things that are called monoterpenes. Okay, they are lighter molecules. Sacred frankincense is pretty high. So you notice over here, blue is pretty high, but the red is very high as well. So these small little molecules that flashes out from the distillation, from the oils, are captured quite quickly. So from the monoterpenes to the oxygenated monoterpenes to what we call the sesquiterpenes, these are fairly small molecules and they are captured through this regular steam distillation method. But Gary started asking, what if there's more in the resin than the monoterpenes, oxygenated monoterpenes, sesquiterpene? What if there's more from this precious God's gift that we have not tapped into? And he began to realize more as he researched that frankincense essential oil is only one part of the frankincense plant. So remember, we looked at earlier how frankincense is tapped. You cut the tree, you wait for the first cut to flush out, you cut again, you let the resin fall to the ground, you take the resin, and then you distill it. But in that resin, what's been common throughout centuries is people just collecting frankincense essential oil. But Gary starts to think, there is more than just essential oils. So never satisfied with status quo, he and his team started asking, how can we unlock more potential from the frankincense resin without using harmful chemicals? When they eventually dug deeper and deeper into it, they realized that there are a lot other what we call botanical benefits, botanical substances. So essential oil is just one element. Above and beyond essential oil, there are a lot of botanical benefits that's still left in the resin that a regular steam process does not extract out. So what are these leftover, untouched, untapped on botanical ingredients? So if you look at this entire list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the top 6 are boswellic acids. Okay. Now, essential oils of frankincense do carry certain levels of boswellic acid. But upon further research, they realized that there are 6 different types of boswellic acid that are hugely left behind. And boswellic acids, if you look at the last line, is very, very technical. So it says boswellic acids inhibits the enzyme 5-lipoxygenase, okay, which plays a key role in the inflammatory process. AKBA in particular also targets other inflammatory pathways such as inhibition of NF-κB. Okay, those are very, very technical terms. Now, in short, if you were to just do a little bit of research, take a snapshot, feel free. and you start looking at every single type of bosulic acid that is actually named here, you will realize that these have huge anti-inflammation properties. So we're going to watch a quick video here to just tell you how Deep Spectra Frankincense. By the way, Deep Spectra Frankincense is also affectionately called Frank 2 or Frankincense 2, basically Frankincense version 2. Okay, so we're going to watch this video right now. Okay, let me give me a second. This always gets very interesting. Okay. So as you have watched, what happens is we're taking the sacred frankincense resin. Instead of using water, we're adding frankincense essential oil in as an agent to distill further. And because of that, a lot of different compounds starts to come out. So over here, you're going to see listed below what they've discovered Frank 2 now has. Frankincense 2, remember, is deep spectral frankincense, shows significantly elevated levels of these across the board, increase in 70%, increase more than 172% for Sembreno, increase more than 185% in Sensor, increase in more than 143% in Sembrio. What are these technical things? Again, feel free to go do a little bit of research, but I have done some and I'm going to tell you what they do. Sembrino A, which has increased by 70%. What does it do? Very anti-inflammation, anti-cancer, neuroprotective, antimicrobial, which means that, things that's causing people to get sick. Very, very good for that. Okay. Sembreno, the second item, increased by 172%. And what on earth is Sembreno? Again, remember all these are great for anti-inflammation, which, by the way, if you have any physical pains, etc., this frankincense is going to work wonders for you. Back to Sembreno, anti-inflammation, antimicrobial, anti-protozoa. That means that it's really powerful against human pathogens. It is also hepatoprotective, which means that it helps to heal liver damage. Third one, Incensol. What is Incensol and how does it function in the human body? Anti-inflammation, antidepressant, and anti-anxiety. Increased by 185%. The last item, Isosembrio. Okay, antioxidant, anti-inflammation, and in particular, anti-diabetic. It manages type 2 diabetes by inhibiting some of the key enzymes that affect your system. Interesting. So we have now discovered a different way of distilling your sacred frankincense resin so that more botanicals are extracted. Again, some scientific graphs over here. Frank 2 contains all 6 types of bosualic acid, as we have earlier shown you. And if you just hop on down to the last line, it says the bosualic acid content in Frank 2 has reached as high as 12 to 13%. So at Young Living, one of the biggest things that we have established is that we know our essential oils. Gary has always stood at the frontier, challenging everything that has been done in the past in the essential oil industry. He's always asked why. He always asks, is there more? Is there a new way? So he's taken essential oil boundaries way forward. This particular technology was something that he thought about almost 10 years ago. And we know that Gary passed about, now would have been close to 7 years ago. But the technology itself, or the idea itself, was something he started discussing with the scientific panel more than 10 years ago. And back then, he's taken lots of notes, he's put things together, and he's kept it away because he had so many projects going on. So literally after his passing, as they were packing up a lot of and looking through a lot of his research notes, Mary pulled this particular one out and requested Dr. H.K. Lin, who is in our scientific panel and also a very good friend of Gary, and requested Dr. H.K. Lin to deep dive into this and bring the scientific panel forward with the actual research and actual distillation process. So Deep Spectra as a technology is something that no one else in the essential oil industry has. This is patent pending, and we understand what the future needs, and we're setting the stage and leading the way. I'm going to take you through a little bit more about Deep Spectra frankincense. So if you remember watching the video, it is the essential oil of frankincense, that's Katiri. Okay, and we use what we call upcycled frankincense Boswellia sacral. So Boswellia sacral, the sacred frankincense resin, typically after steam distillation, still have lots of ingredients trapped in there. So right now they take these ones and they use the frankincense essential oil to actually run through it so that we extract the powerful leftover botanical ingredient. So the free radical scavenging activity of Frank 2 is much, much higher. If you look at these two graphs, the one left-hand side shows that frankincense 2 basically has much more powerful ingredient contents, but summarizing it, the picture on the right-hand side, antioxidant level of Frank 2 is 4.6 times more than your frankincense. These are the 3 different types of frankincense we currently have in Young Living. And they are important that you understand that they are considered single oils because there are companies out there that will sell you a branded frankincense, but in there they have mixed Feriana with perhaps frankincense or some other different lower grades of frankincense, and they don't tell you that it's blended. What they have done is they've blended something. So in Young Living, we have sacred frankincense that you use for spiritual attunement, meditation, awareness, emotional healing. You have right at the end of the other side, the frankincense, which we typically would use for skincare, rejuvenation of skin, beauty. And right smack in the center, because we combine sacred frankincense resin and frankincense essential oil, the skin benefits are now much, much more. So you can use it to really work on beauty. But please remember that the consistency of this oil is particularly sticky because of how it is actually extracted. So add it into a base oil if you're going to apply it onto your face as a skin tonic. Okay, it is 4.6 times more concentrated power, enhanced antioxidant activity level. So let me tell you a little story. Many years back, before Frank 2 was actually born, they were already distilling it in small batches, and Dr. H.K. Lin came into Singapore to actually be at one of our anniversary events. So after I had the opportunity to chat with him, because many years back, we had invited Dr. HK to Singapore to actually do an entire series of talks on frankincense for cancer. So having been friends for the last 10 years, we typically would catch up a little bit. And he passed me a tiny little sample of Frank 2. So I needed to test it out because I'm an essential oiler. And for that particular anniversary event, some of the leaders had to get on stage to sing. I had to give a talk. I have to do different things on stage where basically I need to open my mouth. But there was a huge, huge ulcer at the top of my lip. And if you ever have come across one of those horrendously painful ulcer, you don't want to open your mouth. You don't want to sing for that matter. But because I was at an event, I had to figure out how. So when I heard him explain how powerful Deep Spectra was, I decided to take a tiny, tiny little drop. Okay, actually not even a drop. I was swiping it off the top of this tiny little bottle, and I apply it direct to my ulcer. And I sat there. And I remember that my countdown probably only reached about 15 seconds to 20 seconds before the entire ulcer pain dissipated. I kid you not. I sat there and I was like shocked, because if you know how bad ulcers are, it's bad, but it completely went away. So much so that, I could actually move my lips around, move my mouth around, which when you have a ulcer injury, you would not be able to do that. So it became my drug. Every time I needed to get on stage, 2 minutes before, I would take a tiny dab, because I only had that much, and I'll wipe it to the ulcer itself. Then I go right onto stage, deliver a talk, sang songs and perform and did whatever I needed to do without a single feel of the pain and irritation. So that's how fast and quick acting this is. We are leading the future. A lot of people question that now that Gary's not around, does that mean we have less? We don't have the expertise. Ah. The truth is, Gary has left tons of information that is now empowered in the hands of our scientific team. And there's more to come, because we understand that everything that Gary has envisioned easily 10, 20 years ago is finally coming to fruition, and no other essential oil companies understand where we're going with this technology. In Singapore specifically, this month, you will know that we have the Omega Jice, which is infused with Frank 2. So you're getting something that's going to work on your heart, your eyes, with the power of anti-inflammation that's 4.6%, 4.6 times higher. So with that, this is the end of our frankincense presentation. I'm going to stop the share over here. And hello, everybody. Yeah, If you have questions, if you have comments, if you tried Deep Spectra, please raise your hand, give us a comment, ask us a question, so we can all begin to understand and learn better how to use this. Anyone? Everyone is good. I understand in Philippines, this is going to be launched 15 of this month. You definitely want to grab hold of it. Deep Spectra is available as essential oil. That means the frankincense oil is available right now as just essential oil. And the other version of it, the bigger dropper version, is black seed oil mixed with Deep Spectra. I have seen a lot of cases and a lot of people use the black seed oil version for face. So I keep that bottle in the bathroom. So usually after a shower, I take 2 half droppers of the black seed Deep Spectra. So that's for internal health. And then I put a couple of different drops over the face and I massage that before I go to bed. Vance, our GM from Taiwan, he did an experiment with himself and he used that on his face for 30 days. And it was a significant improvement in the complexion, the tonality of the entire skin. So that's how you can use it. You can rub it on areas of irritation, of pain, because black seed oil itself is a base oil, and black seed oil itself is very healing by itself. Okay? Any questions for me in the room? No, everybody is so cool. Oh, wait, hang on. Oh, they are. Hang on. I totally missed this question page. Zijun asks, do you know more about Omega Jai's essential deep spectra? Well, could you tell me a little bit more? What do you mean by do I know more? So Dionalyn, is that how I pronounce your name? How about black seed oil with deep spectra? I hope I answered your question. So we have that product. So that's already pre-blended with black seed oil. So like I mentioned, I use it on skin a lot, but it's orally something that's very good for taking inside. If you are constantly feeling like your immune system is low, it's a very wonderful way to actually boost the system. Um, Yes, Shinaling, it has a siap siap sticky feel. Why is that so? Because of the extraction is pulling out way more substances. And also because we're using frankincense oil to distill and not water, which is why, number one, we're pulling out deeper molecules. Remember that chart that has small molecules to big molecules? Now we're pulling out bigger molecules and they're heavier substances, so they're thicker. And then on top of that, instead of using water, we're using essential oil. So everything is a much heavier compound that adds to that sticky, what she calls siap siap feeling. Okay. So when you put it on skin, it's not smooth. It doesn't seem to absorb as quickly. So the best way to use it is to add a base oil like V6 or use the black seed version, which already is nicely blended in. Yeah. Zijin, so how is it different? So mainly Omega Gies is a supplement that we use for heart health, eye health, and cognition health. So right now, the key thing that they've added in is the deep spectra. So remember the role of deep spectra is to reduce inflammation. All of these places, your eyes are affected by inflammation because of the tiredness, the staring of the screen at the blue light. Our brain is undergoing inflammation all the time because of the stress, because of even the food, nature of the food that we're eating. Our heart is undergoing a lot of stress and inflammation as well. So right now, on a regular basis, your omega-3 fish oils are already components that supports all these areas. But we're adding in Deep Spectra to deepen that ability to really push to lower the inflammation. So you're going to see yourself having access to better heart health, access to better eyes faster, access to better brain health. Hopefully that makes sense for you, yeah? You use Franken F2 mainly for ingesting. I feel that even after a long hard day and then I wake up the next day feeling. That's a very nice tip, Alba. Yeah, Frankincense 2 has, you must try it to actually notice how it acts in your body quite differently. Nice. Kaijia, you're using the black seed oil with Deep Spectra for, yes. So if you have a bad flu and infection, it is a great way to get essential oil in without needing to put it in capsule. And it's very palatable, the black seed oil. So I don't have to drip it into a capsule. I literally do 2 half dropper, basically it's 1 dropper. But when you put it inside a bottle, it usually doesn't suck up that much. So 2 half droppers, and take it at least 3 times a day, you're going to find that your recovery is much faster. Wow, May and Jason says, Frank 2, very good for healing. May just delivered recently, C-section dried up in 10 days. Nice. Zajin also shares for pain relief. Let me see. Shoulder pain, but after, yes. Let's see. Black seed oil Deep Spectra, yes, can be ingested. What happens is in certain countries, because of the regulation, they aren't able to put it at the forefront that is ingestible. But it is ingestible. Okay. It's just that the registration of the product usually takes a little bit of time. There are a few other countries that are ready. They call it phytonutrition. So the write-up, everything is for ingestion. But locally, we are in the process of getting that label. But right now, they just say Deep Spectra with Frank 2. Completely same product. Can Deep Spectra blend with Mr. EO for prostate issue? Absolutely. I would try it out. It's a very gentle oil. But also because remember that the Deep Spectra is a little bit sticky, etc. Use a base oil and try it out. Can we use Deep Spectra for hormonal imbalance? I don't have a direct yes answer for that. But based on the fact that, like I said, from a holistic nutrition and health point of view, almost all the problems that we have in this world, physical problems, stems from the fact that our body is in a heightened inflammatory state, even hormone imbalances. Okay, so I would tend to think that this is going to be helpful. So I don't have a scientific report to show you right now, but I would say go ahead and use it. Yeah. Grace, can chemo patients? Absolutely. Very, very high. Thank you, Alba, for saying that. Very, very high anti-cancer properties over here. And also for pain. So if somebody is going through cancer and in any form of discomfort and pain, this is going to be super, super helpful. Grace, how many times a day? I would do it at least 3 times. Yeah. With a cancer patient, with all our other different frankincense, let's say you're using sacred frankincense. If possible, I'll put a drop under the tongue every hour that you are awake. Okay, just 1 drop that goes into the bloodstream and really, really is helpful because your blood runs through every single organ in your system. But if you can do a black seed oil with Deep Spectra or just Deep Spectra with a base oil 3 times a day and ingest it instead. And let that go deep into the digestive system because the gut is also a place where it really needs a lot of help and nourishing. Faith, kidney issues, Yes, you could. Again, like I said, there could be an inflammatory state that the kidneys are in. So it could be good ingestion for with the deep spectra, with the black seed oil, or even just massage over the kidneys. I would highly recommend Ningxia together with this. So a lot of people are concerned with Ningxia for kidneys, but because of the potassium level. But again, I've also seen tons and tons of cases where we have failing kidney issues, situations that's been completely reversed just with the use of Ningxia Red. So your Ningxia Red helps rebuild the body from inside with the nutrition. Your frankincense is there with the boswellic acid to really bring down the inflammatory state. Yes, Grace, absolutely. So everything that we have are very natural. I would say, well, if she's completely new to all of this, just also monitor, because once somebody is in the process of going through chemo, your body is subjected to um, high levels of medication, and sometimes certain bodies reject that. Okay, and that can cause a lot of discomfort. So yes, you can introduce to the person, but kind of manage it from starting at low doses to work upwards, because you want to just see where the person is at, and they have to be comfortable and feeling like they're not like throwing up half the time from just chemo, and then we're trying to shove them down with this. Okay. um I would say the first few days, just monitor how she is. You could just start with very gentle, regular frankincense diffusing in the room, or just applying without having her to ingest. Like once she has settled into her routine of chemo and she knows how her body is responding to the medication, then yes, slowly introduce if she's open to um yeah, deep spectra. Okay. See, here's what's going to happen. I am going to upload this into a drive, or it's either going to go into Google Drive or it's going to sit in my Zoom account. A link will be sent out to you immediately after this, an email. So please look out for it. The email in which you have registered for this session, it's going to go out to you with the link to rewatch this. And I will also send out the slides in the Canva format. So yes, it is not a PDF, because I want people to have access to this. I want you to become a person that can go teach other people and show other people how to use Deep Spectra. This is going to change a lot of people's life. And I would really appreciate that you bear that flag and be part of the change in this world. Okay. So thank you, everybody. Watch out for the email. If you don't receive it, pop me a message, WhatsApp, Messenger. I will respond to you. Thank you very much. It's Friday night. Have a very, very good weekend, and bless you all. Thank you for coming in today and spending this hour with me. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.